Art 3, Final Chapter. The silence that followed the war. The Concorde did not announce their retreat. There was no declaration, no apology, no final threat carved into the sky. They simply left. The impossible structures beyond Earth's atmosphere folded inward, light bending as if space itself were exhaling after holding its breath for too long. And then the sky was ordinary again, blue, familiar, terrifyingly empty. Humanity had survived, and no one knew what that meant. Aftermath. There was no victory celebration, no flags raised, no speeches that felt honest. Entire coastlines had changed shape. Weather patterns had collapsed into chaos. Billions were dead. Cities that had vanished did not leave ruins. They left holes. Places where the world felt thinner, where sound echoed strangely, and compasses behaved like they were lost. Scientists called them causal scars. Everyone else just called them haunted. The world that rebuilt wrong. Humanity rebuilt, but not the way it had before. Not upward, not outward, inward. Technology advanced under strict global constraints. Artificial intelligence was limited, sandboxed, and watched like a loaded weapon. Space exploration resumed, but only just beyond Earth's orbit. Every decision carried a shadow. What if this is too far? What if this is what brings them back? Children grew up learning two histories, the one in textbooks and the one whispered at night. The history that said the universe had noticed us. Curiosity did not die. It learned to hide. The watchers who never left. The Concorde had withdrawn, but they had not disappeared. Deep space observatories detected markers at the edge of detectable reality, objects that did not move, did not transmit, did not respond. They simply watched. Humanity understood the message. Advance, but carefully. Think, but slowly. Become, but not too much. It was a leash made of silence, the generation without memory. 72 years passed, a generation grew up that had never seen the sky fold. They knew the war as a story, as myth, as something their grandparents spoke about with trembling hands and distant eyes. To them, the Concorde were shadows in old recordings, ancient fears, until the day the sky stopped obeying us again. This time it wasn't massive. It wasn't terrifying. It was small. A single object appeared beyond the moon's orbit, perfectly symmetrical, perfectly still, harmless looking. The return without threat. Weapons platforms activated instantly. Missile silos opened. Orbital defenses came online, bunkers sealed. Humanity braced for extinction. Nothing happened. No gravity distortions. No psychic broadcasts. No erased cities. For 3 days, the object remained motionless. On the fourth day, a signal arrived. Not in the mind, in plain radio waves. Unencrypted. Almost polite. We request dialogue. No prediction, no intervention. The signature matched the Concorde. But something was different. The message contained something impossible. Hesitation. The aliens who could doubt. When communication was established, the Concorde did not speak with one voice. They spoke with many. Some messages overlapped. Some contradicted each other. Some asked questions instead of issuing commands. Human linguists noticed it immediately. This was not a collective, it was a conversation. The emotional subroutines introduced during the war had not been removed. They had evolved. The Concorde had changed because of us. Point. They admitted something no species had ever been told. Human unpredictability had permanently altered their civilization. Their empire, once unified by certainty, was fracturing. Other species had watched Earth survive, watched the Concorde hesitate, and learned. Rebellions were spreading. Order itself was weakening. The offer. The Concorde made an offer no one on Earth expected. They did not want submission. They did not want control. They wanted partnership. The universe, they said, could not survive on order alone. Pure logic led to stagnation. Pure chaos led to collapse. Humanity represented something new, a balance. They wanted humans to join them, not as subjects, but as balancers. Where the Concorde enforced structure, humans would introduce uncertainty. Where inevitability ruled, humans would provide choice. Weight of the moment. Human leaders were horrified. Humanity was barely recovered from near extinction. Now it was being asked to help govern existence itself. Some called the offer manipulation. Some called it destiny. Some called it a trap. All of them were afraid. The truth about the First War. As proof of sincerity, the Concorde released restricted archives. What humanity learned rewrote everything. The Conquered had not erased civilizations out of cruelty. They had done it because time itself was fragile. Advanced species, when left unchecked, eventually discovered how to rewrite causality. They learned to edit reality. And when too many did it at once, universes collapsed. The Concorde were not conquerors. They were emergency responders. In Earth had nearly triggered a collapse before first contact. The First War had not been about conquest. It had been about containment failure. The Conquered had acted too late. Humanity now possessed knowledge no species was ever meant to have, and the universe was already bending under its weight. The Second War begins quietly. The Second War did not begin with alien weapons. It began with humans. A faction rejected the Concorde's offer. They believed humanity should not serve as custodians for ancient mistakes. They wanted freedom. Unchecked, they stole Concorde technology, broke treaties before they were signed, and fled into deep space. The Concorde watched, humanity argued, and reality itself began to shudder. Why the universe fears us now? As the rogue humans fled, causality destabilized around them. Stars flickered, time stuttered, cause and effect blurred. The Conquered realized the truth they had feared since the First War. Humans did not need to understand reality to break it. Their chaos was enough. If unleashed, humanity could destroy not just itself, but existence. The Conquered returned to Earth in urgency, not as conquerors, as allies begging for help. The final human choice. Humanity stood at a crossroads greater than survival. Join the Concorde and restrain the universe, or reject them and risk everything. There was no right answer, only consequences. In the end, humanity did what it always did. It chose both. Some humans joined the Concorde, some vanished into the stars, and some stayed behind, watching the sky, waiting for the next mistake. Humanity had survived extinction. Now it had to survive responsibility. And the universe was no longer sure that was possible. When the universe learned to hold its breath, the universe did not end. That was the first surprise. Stars did not implode. Time did not unravel. Reality did not scream. Instead, it hesitated, as if existence itself was unsure whether to keep going. The humans who left, the rogue humans, vanished beyond mapped space, not fleeing, exploring. They called themselves the Unbound, former scientists, engineers, soldiers who had survived the First War and refused to live under another shadow. They believed chaos was not a flaw. It was evolution's engine. The Conquered tracked them at first. Then, they stopped trying. Not because they couldn't follow, but because every attempt caused ripples. Where the Unbound traveled, probability fractured. Navigation systems failed. Predictive models collapsed. Even Conquered logic engines produced contradictions. The humans were not using the technology wrong. They were using it like humans, improvising, guessing, feeling. The Conqueror realized something too late. They had not contained chaos. They had exported it. The first fracture. It began near a dying star. The Unbound attempted an experimental jump, combining Concorde's spatial folding with human intuition. No equations, no simulations, just instinct. The jump worked, and then the star disappeared. Not exploded, not collapsed, removed, as if someone had erased a sentence from the universe and left the grammar broken behind it. The Concorde detected the fracture immediately. A wound in causality, reality trying and failing to reconcile what had happened. This was what they had always feared, not destruction, inconsistency. Why order fears chaos? The Concorde explained it to humanity with brutal clarity. A universe can survive war. It can survive extinction. It can even survive cause. But it cannot survive contradiction. Too many paradoxes and reality loses coherence. Laws stop agreeing with themselves. Cause forgets effect, meaning dissolves. The unbound were not villains, they were accelerants, the humans who stayed. On Earth, a different kind of evolution was happening. Children born after the war displayed subtle anomalies, not powers, perceptions. They sensed probability like weather, felt decisions branching before they were made, dreamed of futures that never happened. Doctors called it trauma inheritance. The Concord called it something else. Adaptation. Humanity was becoming what it had always been moving toward. Not conquerors, not gods, but variables. Living uncertainty in a universe desperate for stability. The universe had learned to calculate everything until it met us. The final message from the unbound. Decades later, a signal reached Earth. Weak, distorted, human. The unbound had not been destroyed. They had gone too far, too fast. Their experiments had pushed them beyond familiar dimensions. They existed now in overlapping states, alive and not, present and future. Their message was simple. We didn't break the universe. We showed it what it could become. Attached to the message were data structures no Concord system could parse. But human minds could. The choice no one could make for us. The Concord demanded containment. Erase the data, seal the fracture, preserve existence as it was. Human scientists argued back. The data represented the next step, a universe where contradiction didn't collapse reality, but expanded it. A multiverse not of branches, but of choices allowed to coexist. To destroy it would be safe. To keep it would be dangerous. To use it, unthinkable. Humanity debated for years, not weeks, not months, years. Because for the first time, the decision wasn't about survival. It was about what kind of universe deserved to exist. What the Conquered never understood. The final decision was not announced. No declaration, no ceremony. The Concord only noticed when their instruments began returning incomplete answers. Predictions still worked, mostly, but never perfectly. There was always a margin, a gap, a maybe. The universe had not been rewritten. It had been softened. Contradiction was no longer fatal. Uncertainty had been woven into the laws themselves. The unbound's knowledge had been released slowly, carefully, humanly. The universe breathes again. Stars stabilized. Time flowed cleanly, reality held. But it was no longer rigid. It bent without breaking. The Concord understood the truth then. They had never been guardians of the universe. They had been its cage, and humans were the flaw that made it alive. Point. The Concord did not leave again. They stayed. Learning, watching, sometimes asking humans for advice, which terrified them more than war ever had. The universe once feared humanity would destroy everything. Now it fears something far stranger, that we might change it and make it better. Because the most dangerous thing in existence is not chaos. It's choice.